Howdy y'all, TheJTJ here with another Soulblight Gravelords Battletome Tactics. Today we'll be covering the bloodlines of Vyrkos Dynasty, so stick around. Alright everybody, we got the Vyrkos Dynasty up today. We're going to be covering the battle traits, the command traits, artifacts, and a tentative list for you to start your building off with. So let's jump right in to the battle traits. Alright, so the first battle trait we have is Strength of the Pack is the Wolf. Add 1 to the wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Vyrkos Dynasty Death Rattle and Dynasty Deadwalkers until the units, while they are wholly within 9 of any friendly Vyrkos Dynasty vampire hero. So there's a lot going on there. You're adding 1 to the wound rolls, which is super good, especially for your grave guard. Dead walkers, everything likes that +1 to wound. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Think about this: 2+ graveguard wounding on. I've tested this out a little bit. I did have a couple of little demo games, and I was trying to use this. The thing that I ran into that was really hurt me playing with it is that 9-inch bubble is very restricted. So just keep that in mind. It would have been really cool if it was a 12-inch bubble like a lot of the other stuff in the book, so you can synergize with that. But with a 9-inch bubble, you're getting it on one unit, and that unit can't be that large. So the one thing that I would say with this, look for things with large base sizes, or you can have sort of one little vampire foot lord walking around with each one of your big blobs of zombies to buff them. The next one is the Strength of the Wolf is the Pack. You can reroll casting rolls for friendly Vyrkos Dynasty vampire wizards. Keyword there is vampire. And necromancers don't get to use this. That's kind of not good. I wish the necros would get to use it, and that's something that you as a player should watch out for when you're playing somebody with Soulblight, is that make sure their necromancers aren't getting that reroll. But all in all, it's a very good trait. Both of these are good traits. They have the potential to be very good. Give them an A- because one, you don't get the necromancers can't use it, and the other one, the bubble's really small. So there's some downside to it. Tactics. You can take a lot of advantage of these rules with bigger vampire based units, like you're talking about the Pelican, the Throne, Radikar, and Belladonna. They have slightly bigger bases, so that bubble of 9 inches is going to move out a good bit. Belladonna has a +1 to casting and reroll spells, making her a very strong caster. So she's already got a +1 to cast, and now she's going to get a reroll. She's already got good spells. So these stack up really nice with what she's trying to do and just your vampire lords in general. Moving right on to command traits. The first command trait is Pack Alpha. Once per turn, this general can use a command ability without a command point being spent. It is a super flexible trait that can be used on a frontline or a backline fighter. This is one of those traits where you're going to be looking at it every game going, do I want to take this game? This could be very useful, especially when we get to 3rd edition, how command traits are going to change, how stuff's going to get a little bit different. It will be interesting to see how much powerful, or maybe less powerful, I suspect more powerful, this trait is going to become. Some good unit with War Scrolls that you could put it on is actually just a regular foot vampire lord. He gives the +1 on the attack characteristic, and the Coven Throne too. So putting this on one of those is a super big force multiplier. And this is not even looking at just your standard on your backline fighter. You can put it on somebody just to basically keep your zombies or your big blocks from like fleeing every turn from battle shock. A+. I think that you should very much, every game you should be looking at this one. I'm not saying you have to take it every game. I'm just saying every game, give it a stop, look at it, see if you want to take it. Alright, the next one is Driven by Death Stench. You can reroll charge rolls for friendly Vyrkos Dynasty units wholly within 9 of this general. Alright, we got another 9-inch bubble here. And you kind of want this is really odd because you kind of want it on a frontline fighter, somebody that's going to charge, but you could also use it on a backline guy. Another thing, larger bases, Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, the Coven Thrones, these things are going to extend that range, so that's something to keep in mind. And the other good thing is it does work on self. So your Vampire Lord or Zombie Dragon, there you go. You can charge in. It's an A. It's a solid A. It's not a bad trait, and especially if you're doing some kind of a fighty build with a Vampire Lord or a Vengorian Lord or something, this might be something you really want to look at. Moving on to Kin of the Wolf. Once per battle at the end of your movement phase, you can say that the general will summon a pack of dire wolves to the battlefield. If you do so, you can add 1 unit of up to 5 dire wolves to your army. Set up that unit wholly within 9 of this general and more than 9 away from an enemy unit. This is another once per battle ability. However, in general, this is an okay use of a once per battle ability, summoning a unit onto the field. A unit you didn't actually pay points for. The 5 dire wolves works out to around 70 points or so. So it's a little bit better than buying a command trait. A CP. You're kind of restricted though, because you have to set it up within 9 of the general, and it's only 5 wolves. It's not a bad trait, but I'm just not a huge fan of it because I feel that they should have gave you 10 wolves, or they should have let the wolves pop up out and outflank or somewhere like that. That would make more sense, but it just seems very restricted. Maybe its use is you put it on somebody that's going to be outflanking, or maybe a sort of like a fast unit, a flanking unit or something, and let them pop up 5 dire wolves as a screen or somebody to run with them. But in general, I think they missed out on an opportunity to have a really cool rule, and a really cool command trait. It just sort of fell a little bit short, but it's not horrible. Alright, up next we have Hunter's Snare. If this general contests an objective, the number of models this general counts as is equal to their wound characteristic. And the one thing that's really good with this is that it's wound characteristic, not wounds remaining. So sort of your bigger, more powerful units, they're going to keep that same ability, until their last wound is spent. I do think there's some really good, interesting tactical play with this. I think it's nice having this ability somewhere in the book. You can put it on your big monsters to run around and just single-handedly try to contest something on the side. So I think there's some play. I think there's some options with it. Alright, next, Spore Trackers. At the start of your hero phase, friendly Vyrkos Dynasty Deadwalker units wholly within 9 of this general can make a normal move up to 3 inches they cannot run. Now, extra movement for zombies is good. If you're building around this, it's just like, if you're bringing a lot of Deadwalkers, and remember, you got the zombies and the dire wolves, they're going to get a 3-inch extra movement. That's 13-inch move dire wolves. It's pretty strong, pretty solid. So your regular Deadwalker zombies, they can move 3 in this phase, and then their normal 4-inch movement. Plus, you could do a D6 run, which at minimum is 1. So, and then the interesting thing though is that their pile in is 6 inches, and they can pile in if they're within 6 inches. So this is the type of thing that you use to get your zombies in position, so they're close enough that they don't even roll a charge move. They just get close, and then they're pile in their 6. They stay like 4 out, 5 out, and during pile in, boom, they pile in and do it. So that is a tactic that you can use to for this. I think increasing the speed and range of all these guys is great. Once again, the only downside, it is within 9. So this is still a really good thing. You're just going to have to watch how your bubbles are again. This whole dynasty wants you within 9 of everything. I really wish they'd have pushed that to 12, but finally we have United by Blood. This general can attempt to unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase in the same manner as a wizard. If the general is already a wizard, they can attempt to unbind 1 extra spell in the enemy hero phase. So this is not horrible. It's just you get one extra unbind. And I think if I'm looking through the other command traits, there's just stuff that I'd rather have. There is some this dynasty in general. They play heavy into the magic side. They play heavy into the dispel and the debuff, the wizard. But I just don't think one extra unbind is all that great, or worth taking, because it still is a chance. Number one, you could play an enemy that don't have any spells, or number two, first turn you're out of that range, so you're not even getting to use it, or number three, they just roll higher. You're playing somebody like Cloak that's going to get plus however much to cast, and you're never going to be able to dispel it anyway. So while it's not horrible, it's just I think there are better options. So the command trait tactics, these want you to take dead walkers. I just see that over and over. It just feels like that's what it wants you to take. And I think it was probably written for wolves in mind, but keep in mind that regular zombies still work. It provides several ways to buff them. On the downside, you're building a combat hero. The options are not that awesome in this bloodline. So, this is more, you get a lot more buffs for your guys. It's wanting you to take big blocks of infantry or wolves. Artifacts of power. All right, let's see if I can actually pronounce this. The Orphan Phylactery. We'll just call it the Orphan. All right. Friendly Soulblight Gravelord units are affected by the Deathless Minions battle trait, page 73, while they are wholly within 18 of the bear instead of 12. This basically extends your range of your Deathless Minions by 6 inches. Once again, play into that. Big bases help extend that even further. I think this is it's a solid one. I mean, even though Deathless Minions is only that extra 6 up, it's still nice to have this aura spread out a little bit further. So while it's not great, it is not bad either. All right, number 2, Cloak of the Night Prowler. The bear can pile in an extra 3 inches when they make a pile in move. Extra pile in is always very good on anything. Zombie dragons, they can possibly pile in enough to clip a second unit, or pile in further onto an objective. The one thing you can think about too is just a regular small base vampire lord. They're pretty small, they can fly, so that giving them a 6-inch pile in, that might let them jump a unit or jump a screen to get somewhere that they want to go, to get maybe to a more important target to hit. So there's a little play with this. I think you'll see it some on some combat characters, and it's definitely something you can look at for if your second artifact you're taking. All right, Sangsiren. Sangsiren. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. If the bearer made a charge move in the same turn, add D3 to the attack characteristic of that weapon until the end of the turn. All right, extra D3 attacks on the charge with one weapon. Great on a Vampire Lord or a White King on Steed. Probably your best combat hero artifact in this dynasty. If you see a lot of people taking your bigger, beefier combat characters, you're going to see them taking this as their artifact all the time. Partly because it's okay, it's not bad. I mean, D3 is extra attacks can be amazing, but it has to be on the charge, so that's the one thing you sort of have to keep in mind. All right, let's look at number 4, Illness Fang. Once per battle in your charge phase, you can say that the bearer will be endued with Villainous Stealth. If you do so until the end of the phase, add 1 to the charge roll for the bearer for each other friendly Vyrkos Dynasty vampire hero on the battlefield. Okay, so we've got a lot going on here. It's once per battle. Not a fan, but if it's good enough to use, maybe it is worth taking. However, in this case, I don't see it really being really awesome unless you have 3+ vampire heroes on the field. So if you've not built around vampire heroes, then don't take this, obviously. It's sort of meant to be on a combat character, so if you don't take a combat character, then wouldn't put it there. It wouldn't be bad if this was every turn. Like, if it every turn gave you, because I mean, how many vampire heroes can you have on the field? Like at max 5 or something, but really no one's going to take that. But and still, is even +5 to charge that insane on something? I think it should have been every turn, um, or just change it somehow. It's just it's not totally unusable, but yeah, it's not something that I would care to take. All right, number 5, the Terminus Clock. Once per battle at the start of the enemy hero phase, you can say that the bearer will stop the Terminus Clock. If you do so until the end of the phase, subtract 1 from the casting roll from enemy wizards. So, it's a once per game. -1 casting. It's nice, and it's board wide, so at least it's got that going for it. It didn't constrain it, it's board wide. But it's not reliable in the least, and I say that what it's going to do is going to be reliable, but you get it once per game. You could literally take this and run into an opponent that doesn't have any casters, or maybe has one caster and there's casting some slappy spell that doesn't even matter. Against really good casting armies, it might not even matter either, because a lot of those good casting heroes and stuff have ways to reroll. They already have pluses. So I'm just seeing that if it's only one use per game, maybe -2 to cast, maybe -3, just a -1 to cast board wide. I'm kind of underwhelmed with it. I say avoid it because it is situational. And finally, the last artifact, Standard of the Orphan Watch. Once per battle at the start of the hero phase, you can say that the bearer will raise the standard of the Orphan Watch. If you do so until the end of the turn, each time your opponent spends a command point, roll a dice. On a 5+, you receive 1 extra command point. Once again, a once per battle artifact. Is this a trend for 3rd edition? I don't know. It's kind of discouraging. So once per battle on the enemy. So if I have to declare it at the start of the hero phase, they might not even use any CP in the hero phase. It's very rare. I mean, some armies can generate several, but it's rare that it's rare that an army has multiple CPs that they're going to use every turn, or they can generate more. So that itself is sort of okay. Well, it's hard to get around that, but then you add the kicker, and I have to still roll a 5+ to get a CP. Maybe in the 3rd edition there will be a lot more command points, and that's why this will look a lot better. But still, that 5+ is just like, you're not guaranteed. Number one, you're not guaranteed that the enemy is going to use a CP. You could deter them from using it, I guess, by popping this, and they could go, "Oh, I'm not going to use anything now." Or why is it a 5+? Give me a 2+, give me a 3+, but a 5+, it makes it pretty much like, well, I don't think I'll be taking this. All right, so let's talk about the tactics for the Artifacts of Power. There's really not a lot of sneaky stuff that you're going to do out of here that I found are like great synergistic combos that you want to slap on something. In general, the artifacts of the Bloodline are all over the place, and not only in power but usefulness and ability. They're spread out of like what they're trying to do. The worst part is that 3 of them or half of them are one use only. I'm just not a fan of that still. It just seems very restrictive and underwhelming. The only thing I can say that you would keep in mind when using any of these is the Orphan Karnan. Just put it on a bigger base to get better mileage, because that 18-inch bubble on a bigger base can be even bigger. It goes a little bit further. And not much else to say. They're all pretty cut and dry, and they're pretty much to the point. All right, so let's talk about what combos, when you're building your guys out, will you look to take on here. For a frontline fighter like a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, I would look at the Death Stench and the Sang Siren. This is probably your best. You're going to get some reroll charges. Your guy's going to get in combat is probably what it is, and then he'll be able to use his extra D3 attacks. I think there's better builds in this book in general, but if you're playing with this dynasty, look at that for your combat character. For a backline hero like a Necro or a Palanquin, Pack Alpha and Orphan would be good options. I think that's going to just like spread your buffs out. It's going to spread your range of everything out. So if you're packed in, you sort of have like a shielded command section with a couple packs of zombies around it. That would be the way you would build it. And if you want to do a Deadwalker heavy build, look at Spore Trackers and Orphan. I think that would be, you'll see that taken a lot, especially if people are running a lot of Deadwalkers. All right, so let's talk about a list. And keep in mind, guys, when I'm doing lists during this is not really, these are not the world beater list, take it to a tournament. This is more of looking at what is this dynasty or this bloodline trying to do? What is it sort of wanting you to use? And how do you take advantage of what's already there? So to do that, I took a Coven Throne as the general. It's going to have a Spore Tracker and Orphan, and I give it the Orb. Belladonna Volga, she'll have pinions, and I gave her pinions because I felt that you'd want to keep her alive, giving her some extra movement, and it'd be pretty nice to have her be able to jump in and out or maybe move around to buff somewhere else or get in range to do something. A Necromancer, he'll take the extra artifact. Yeah, I gave him the Sang Siren because I guess you could give him the Terminus Clock if I was being real serious with it. Are the standard, but I just looked at it and go, man, going for a second artifact in here without a real combat character is kind of hard. There's not really a lot that I would really pick. Then I would take a battalion, the Death Stench Drove. That's how we got the second artifact. Corpse Cart with a Brazier, but you could take the Lodestone. It just depends on your flavor. I think they both have a lot of play. Zombie times 40 times 40, Dire Wolves times 10 times 10. And a Graveyard with Great Blades, because remember, if we can keep them packed in, they're going to get that plus to wound. Really, what I'm trying to do with this is sort of make a center command, with strong overlapping bubbles. There's some really good command traits. There's good spells from the Necromancers. You're going to have pluses to cast for Volga. Then you get some Dire Wolves that can run out and flank and take points. You got some Death Rattle that can screen off areas or can stay on back points to hold them. And the Death Rattle could be switched out for a lot of different things. It was more just, okay, well, at least that you have that ability to maybe put them as a screen, and they'll take they'll still get they can use the ability of Strength of the Pack is the Wolf. But that's it, guys. I think this dynasty is actually fun. I think it has play in this book. Still not decided if I like it or Legion of the Night more. Need some more playthrough. I think the artifacts could be better. The command traits are okay. So thanks for watching, and y'all be good.